try to mix up some more facts here. Actually, talking about things like screw worms,
Uh-huh.
John Deere. If you played this back to somebody who's an entomologist, they would laugh you out
Oh,
because I'm using probably the wrong terminology, got the wrong flies mixed up there, stuff like that. That's
you
what
and
I
me both.
remember, that's all. John Deere.
Okay, so what don't you like about this hat? You don't like this hat.
Color.
But it's green. Isn't
It
John
is-
that,
It
isn't
doesn't
that,
look green to me.
it looks more gray? Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
Well, it used to be greener.
Did it?
But was it it's the wrong shade of green, right?
Oh, yeah.
And why are you so particular about that?
No, I'm just, because, I guess I'm particular about it because I'm very aware of John Deere's desire to have the right shade of green.
They advertised with you guys,
Yeah.
with Doan.
Right, because when we were publishing a magazine, we would get color ads, full page, even spreads, which brought in a lot of income. Both John Deere, International Harvester, Case, yellow, Alice Chalmers, yellow, things like that. And John Deere and the International Harvester for that matter, but mainly John Deere, wanted the ads to have the proper color in their ads. And you do this with printer's ink, so it took special mixing. You couldn't just order number 816 green. That might be close, but to get it really close, you might have to add a little bit of 727 or something and mix it and then put it in the printer and get it spread so that as it was printing the ads, it would be the right color.
Well, so once you figured out what the right combination was, you could just tell the printer, use that same combination?
Yeah, yes, okay. If he's printing at 11 o'clock at night, you about had to be there to be sure it was printed in the right color. Because once it was printed, it was on a sheet with a lot of other stuff, and it would be folded into the magazine, and there wasn't anything you could do about it. So you had to start out correctly.
So you spent some late nights at the printers?
Yes. Uh-huh. And it got really sticky because you have different forms, 16-page form or a 32-page form that folds up and goes in the magazine. And you can print on one side of it one thing and one other side of it, the sheet, the other. And so if John Deere's on one side, you don't necessarily have John Deere on the other side. And we would get, again, one of the other tractor companies, like IH, International Harvester, Farm All Tractors, and they had red, and pretty much a special red. And to get the printer lined up to print one side green and the other side red, and both of those colors be correct. Took a lot of fine tuning. And eventually they would get it about right, close enough that we could get by with it anyway.
So I take it you weren't real popular with the printing crew.
Well, I think they understood the problem, that we were just doing what we had to do. But no, they would get pretty impatient too, because they would mix the ink. Well, first of all, you had to clear out the ink tray that the rollers turned in. Clear that out, clear off the rollers, run a few sheets through to get it out of the system, then put in the new ink, just enough to print a couple or 3 or dozen sheets, and then start to press up and print these sheets, and then pull one out and come trotting into the office, and we would get our magnifying glass out or sample. What we do is to get our samples out and look and see how close that came. And if it was close enough, great. If it wasn't close enough, they'd have to go out and clear the kind of a trough-like thing, the tray for the ink, and clear the rollers and wash down the print and then do it again. And that might take 15, 20 minutes, half hour to do that. And then they'd try a little different ink. So it was a very now old-fashioned way of printing, but it's usually pretty modern at that time.
Well, saw some pictures in your picture album there about you and Grandpa side by side, each with a rifle in hand.
Oh,
And I don't know which, or they could have been shotguns, I don't know. I couldn't see well enough to tell. So did you go hunting with Grandpa some?
not a lot, but maybe a little bit, yeah. And I never really, well, I used a 410 shotgun, my grandpa's 410 shotgun a little bit,
The over and under?
probably, yeah. And I never really used a 12 gauge shotgun very much. It kicked awfully hard. And I couldn't hit anything with them anyway. So I had a 22 rifle, and I would hunt with it. And 22 short shells didn't usually go over the hill to somebody's house. You had to be careful, and I think I was. But so if we went hunting, I don't remember Dad ever using a rifle. You may have. Do you have any rifle you have would be,
Grandpa Clean Scales.
yeah, shouldn't be mentioning this maybe. But mostly shotgun, Dad would carry, and he would carry it if we went hunting to kill snakes as much as anything.
So what did you hunt?
What did we hunt? Rabbits. You'd kill a rabbit, bring it home to the dogs.
Oh, you didn't eat them yourself?
No, rabbits were dangerous. They had, what's the name of the disease? Tularemia. Tularemia?
I'm not aware of it.
It's a disease that I think will kill the rabbits, but it'll also kill people. And so you had to be careful with rabbits, handling a dead rabbit.
I heard or read or something, I don't know, that somebody was talking about they killed a rabbit and they were dressing it, and while they were cutting it up, a bone of the rabbit poked into their hand, and they got some sort of disease. Do you think, does that sound?
Yeah, that could have been it, or maybe other diseases, but yes, we particularly cottontails. At least the story, the understanding was that jackrabbits less likely to be infected. They're a bigger animal, and I don't know why it would be different, but anyway, cottontails, the usual rabbits, could carry this disease. And I guessing that they could be sick and you wouldn't really know it until they were dying. And so Dad would kill a cottontail and take it to the dogs and let them eat it. And because they could catch them themselves if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But hunting, the only hunting that I'm familiar with, or that I think about, is the coyote hunts, which I have told you about before.
Did you go on those?
I went on a few, and they had them every winter this time of year probably, to get rid of coyotes because there were too many coyotes. And the coyotes would kill the rabbits. So when they got rid of the coyotes, then they had too many rabbits. And, but they were interesting. I thought I told you about coyote hunts.
I don't think.
You want to hear about it?
Sure.
Well, they would advertise in the paper that there would be a hunt in a certain area on the coming Saturday or something. I think it's always on Saturdays. And that the meeting places would be certain corners. I'm thinking 10 miles apart, maybe 5 miles apart. Intersections of country roads. See, in that part of the state, and particularly in Kansas and Nebraska around, everything was divided into sections, 650, 320, 640 acres, which was a half-mile square. And then 4 of them, 4 quarters, made a section. And so the roads were every mile, crisscross.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would meet, they would advertise that we'd meet at this intersection and this one 5 or, I'd have to think about that, 10 miles here, 10 miles, 10 miles. So if it were a good, nice, big flat with no interruptions, streams, little towns, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you would have this plot of ground where there were coyotes known to be there. They were everywhere, in fact. And so everybody, farmers and Kansas City people,
I heard you can rent guns.
city guys,
You could rent guns to.
I don't know about that.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, we'd meet at those corners. And there would be trucks lined up, grain trucks. They would have mostly grain trucks that would have sides on them. Some of them would just be flatbeds. Anyway, they'd meet at these corners. Everybody would park their cars there off the side of the road. And everybody that was there would get into 2 trucks. And one would go this way and the other one would go this way, from the corner. And 1 or 2 guys would stay in the corner. And so far, depending on how many men they had, they would stop and the guy would jump off with his gun. And then the next one, they'd go another 1/4 mile or 1/8 of a mile, and somebody would jump off. And somebody would jump off till they ran out of people.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be a truck coming the other direction from the other corner. And so they'd do that all the way around this square. And the minute you got off of the truck, you started walking toward the center of the square. because the guy out on the outside corner had farther to walk than the one in the middle.
Okay.
And so they would start walking, and so he'd climb over the fences as if you could get over the fences, and start walking toward the meeting place, which would be the Grange Hall or a one-room schoolhouse, or well, usually it was something like that. They centered on these places so that there could be a meeting place and all the good potluck dinner that all of the wives would bring in there. And
I'd hate to be at the center of that circle, though.
well, it was safe. We lay down a couple of times. It was safe. So anyway, all of the shotguns only, by the way, except for Grandpa.
I heard he wasn't very popular.
He was not. If people knew what gun he was carrying. But he did not walk in the circle with the others.
Mm-hmm.
He was the scavenger that hung out behind and tromped through the brush to see if he couldn't scare up a coyote that they had walked past. But anyway, they would walk forward, and after everybody was off of the trucks, the last ones to get off would load their guns and shoot one shot. And all the way around the 10-mile square or 5-mile square, you'd hear the gunshots, meaning that the start of the drive was going, and it would make the coyotes wake up. And as you walked in, the coyotes would run the line. They would kind of scared up ahead, and they would come coming, and somebody would shoot at them too soon, usually. The shotguns wouldn't carry that far, and they would turn and they'd go this way, and somebody would shoot at them, and they'd just keep running, and you could just see them once in a while coming down the line, and they'd be shooting here and then here and then here and then there, and eventually they might get too close and get hit, or they might disappear, and that's where Grandpa came in. Anyway, once in a while there'd be a fox, and everybody would yell, "It's a fox," because we didn't try not to kill foxes. And so the foxes didn't kill calves and lambs.
Mm-hmm.
The coyotes did. And as you got into the circle, it got more and more crowded. And of course, the city guys would be there in full uniform. Hunter's cap, hunters, these big jackets that had big pockets that you could put game in and carry it, a fancy looking gun, boots. And once in a while, this was exciting. And here would come a coyote, and somebody would start running to get a closer shot. And everybody wanted to shoot him in the rear. The farmers did.
Yeah.
But as we got into the circle, then it would get too crowded, and the word would go out to unload your guns. And either unload them or break them. With a shotgun, you know, you can break it
Mm-hmm.
and carry it over your shoulder broken. You're supposed to unload it anyway, but so everybody would unload their guns. And we were walking along in a pasture, and it was getting kind of close. And suddenly some shot from kind of over a hill started peppering down on us. So we lay down, and that was over. And we walked on up, and everybody was gathering. And here was a pile of brush, and a coyote ran out, and they just blew him apart. With unloaded guns, you see.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Grandpa said something about you wouldn't believe how fast those unloaded shotguns could kill a coyote.
Yeah. So it was not entirely safe, but I never heard of anybody getting killed. People got killed by shotguns, but usually it was when they and their hunting partner were climbing through a fence, and somebody shoved the gun through and it went off. And that was stupid too.
Grandpa told a story about, now apparently there was a lot of shoe manufacturing in Kansas City.
What's the story?
Shoe, okay, boot. So there were Grandpa's, I think he seemed to think that they had rented guns for the day because they weren't hunters. They were they were immigrants from Europe someplace, and they worked in the shoe factories or boot factories. And so they came down, and there was 3 of them that I guess were all friends, and they were all together. And a coyote ran through the line, and the 2 on the outside shot and killed their friend on the middle.
Oh, really? That's new to me, I don't know. But how's that connected to boots?
Well, they worked in the factories making boots.
Oh, maybe so, okay.
They were in the area because that was where their boot manufacturer, that's where their occupation was.
Okay. Well, Olathe had 2 boot factories. One of them was Blucher, and one of them was Hire. And Hire was a big national company. Well, they were in Olathe, but they sold boots all over the United States. Blucher mostly took orders from customers. Well, first you had to go in and be fitted, as Uncle Jack did at some point. And then all you had to do was call, and they would make him a new set of boots and ship them to him. So unless his feet changed, they still fit. And they were a kind of a custom boot factory. They made, everything was done individually by hand.
Are they gone?
I think they are, yeah. The other one was Hire, and they had grown to be a national market, I think. When I went to high school, there was a girl, a Hire girl in my class, and they had one of the better houses in town, and of course their factory was there in town, and they were upper class. They were rich, well, they were wealthy manufacturers.
Okay.
And if
So
somebody
her
takes
father-
offense to that I should not have said upper class. They were town people, and the girl, she may have been a year younger than I am, and so I didn't know her very well. And, anyway, they were good town citizens because they contributed to the causes, things like that. And their factory got bigger and may still be in existence, I don't know.
Probably merged with somebody or.
Might be. So now, if I hear from some of the hires, I apologize. I was a farm boy.
I'm sure they'll understand.
I did not get any boots. I wanted to get some Blucher boots because my Uncle Jack had, and I suppose Kenneth probably had Blucher boots at one time too, because he only wore boots as far as I know. And I could not wear them because my arch is high, and in order to get them in, they would get my feet in and out, they would be loose. So my feet just weren't made for boots.
I have an awful time. I have some boots that fit pretty well, I have an awful time putting those on.
Getting them off. Yeah, well, that's why they have boot jacks.
Well, I got a boot jack. It seems to me they're easier getting off. I tend to lose my sock while I'm doing it, but they seem to be pretty easy to get off with a boot jack.
Oh.
Getting them on though is like I have to lay on my back, my foot up in the air. It's got a couple of straps that you can hang on to and
Yeah.
pull those things on.
Mhm.
So I haven't worn my boots in a long time. It's too much trouble. All right, well, that's all I can think of today.
Well, that's about all I can think of too.